All right, let's dive into one of literature's most fascinating feuds. We're talking about the critical battle over Charles Dickens's novel Hard Times. Was it a brilliant masterpiece of social critique, or was it just, poorly researched propaganda? Let's get into it.
But first, I want you to think about something. What if imagination was actually forbidden? What if wonder and emotion were things to be stamped out, and the only thing that mattered were cold, hard facts? Because that's the exact world Dickens throws us into.
So, welcome to Coketown. This is the setting of Hard Times. And it's a city built not just on industry and coal, but on a really rigid philosophy that put facts above, well, everything else. So let's just break this world down for a second. We are deep in the Industrial Revolution in England. The guiding philosophy is something called utilitarianism, which in this world pretty much just means facts only. The whole economy is about machines, profit, efficiency, and the result of all this? The total and complete crushing of what Dickens called human wonder. So what is this philosophy really? Well, utilitarianism actually started with a pretty good idea. Do the greatest good for the greatest number of people. But in Coketown, that idea gets twisted into this cold, mechanical focus on things you can measure, facts, statistics, efficiency, and it completely shoves aside everything that makes us human, our feelings, our creativity, our imagination. In this way of thinking, it has this incredibly dehumanizing effect. It's like a four-step process to a completely broken society. First, you start to value only facts and profit. Next, you actively suppress emotion and imagination. The book calls it fancy. Then people, especially the workers, stop being individuals. They're just cogs in a machine. And the final result? Yeah, society might be productive, but it is spiritually and emotionally bankrupt. This really powerful critique has split literary critics for more than 100 years. Was Dickens's novel this profound work of art, or was it a biased, uninformed attack? This is the great divide we're going to explore. And wow, you really can't get a clearer divide than this. On one side, you've got the super influential critic, F.R. Leavis, who called it Dickens's greatest novel. And on the other, you have J.B. Priestley, who just dismissed it as the least worth reading. I mean, how can two experts be so completely far apart? So let's start with the good stuff. We're going to look at the case for the novel as a total masterpiece and explore F.R. Leavis's argument that Hard Times is a work of absolute genius. Leavis, he did not pull any punches. He called the book a completely serious work of art. He thought it had this unique strength and control that other, maybe more popular Dickens novels just didn't have. For him, this wasn't just telling a story. It was high art with a really profound message. Okay, so Leavis's whole argument really hangs on this one crucial idea. He said you shouldn't read Hard Times as a realistic story. You have to read it as a moral fable. Its real power isn't in trying to create lifelike characters, but in its deep symbolic meaning. So every character, every single event represents a bigger idea in Dickens's powerful takedown of Victorian society. For Leavis, the characters basically act like poetry. Sissy Jupe isn't just some girl. She is the symbol of humanity, of life, of instinct. And Sleary's circus, it's not just a circus. It represents art and kindness and all the vitality that a place like Coketown is just starved of. He argued this was a much deeper, more profound way to critique industrialism than just writing a realistic novel. All right, let's step into the other corner of the ring. Critic J.B. Priestley saw this book completely differently. Not as a masterpiece, but as a deeply flawed, just kind of muddled piece of criticism. And Priestley's verdict was, well, it was brutal. He said that the world of Coketown belongs to propaganda and not to creative imagination. Ouch. He basically believed Dickens was just pushing an agenda and didn't do the real artistic work to back it up. So for Priestley, it all came down to authenticity. He pretty much claimed Dickens simply did not know enough about the industrial world he was writing about. He said Dickens had only seen horrifying glimpses, like he was just looking out of a train window passing by. And because of that, Priestley thought the whole social critique wasn't just flawed, it was uninformed, which, in his eyes, makes it propaganda, not art. And for Priestley, you could see this lack of knowledge in the writing itself. He saw the characters not as rich symbols, but as flat caricatures. And all the emotional parts of the plot, he dismissed them as melodramatic, muddled emotionalism. See, for him, these weren't artistic choices. They were straight-up failures. So these two completely opposite readings, they bring us right to the heart of the whole argument. It's this fundamental clash over what art is supposed to be. Is it about truth, or is it about accuracy?
The contrast is just so stark when you put their views side by side. I mean, think about it. They are looking at the exact same features of the book and coming to opposite conclusions. Levis saw characters that weren't realistic as a strength. They were symbolic. They represented big themes. Priestley saw that exact same quality and called it a fatal flaw. They were just caricatures. It just goes to show how their starting beliefs shaped everything they saw.
So really, the entire debate just boils down to two totally different views on what art is for. If you're on Team Levis, you believe art should deliver a symbolic truth, something that goes deeper than just facts. But if you're on Team Priestley, you believe that for art to criticize society, it has to be grounded in factual realism. Otherwise, it has no value. So, who was right? And what in the world does this century-old literary fight mean for us today when we pick up a book like Hard Times?
Well, here's the big takeaway. It's not actually about which critic was right. It's that there's no single correct way to read a novel like this. This whole debate proves that the lens you bring to a story, whether you're looking for poetic symbolism or you're looking for factual accuracy, that's what's going to determine the value you find in it.
And that leaves us with one final, really important question that goes way beyond Dickens. When art decides to take on society, to critique the world we live in, does it have to be factually perfect to be emotionally or morally or even symbolically true? Definitely something to think about.